Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe if you have a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. Greatly appreciated. I seem to be doing a lot of apologies recently, but I've got another one to hand out. And this is obviously for anyone who watched Basis Picks. I totally forgot about the Junto Nakatani and Alejandro Santiago fight card taking place in Japan. Therefore, I didn't give the takes for that. I ended up doing it on Predictions League, but I didn't actually do it on the video. Nor did I give my prediction on the Dina Thorsland fight, which was taking place in Denmark against Mary Romero. So I guess I'll talk about those very briefly here. I haven't seen the full fights as of yet, but I will see them by the time the breakdown comes around on Tuesday, especially the Japan show. I'm actually going to watch that when I finish recording. But obviously I know the results, so might as well sort of speak about that a little bit as well. So yeah, I guess there's no better place than there to start. Although I guess maybe before I do that, a quick shout out to Dimitri Salita and Salita Promotions. They had a little card that came on, I think it was Wednesday morning over here in the UK. Would have been Tuesday night in the States. Yeah, I won't really go too much into that card, but I think it was where was it? It's like a Detroit. I think it was like a sort of a Detroit Central card, and it was Ardrell Holmes Jr. and someone else who I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, but I remember it was a second round KO, and Sugar Hill Stewart was the guest color commentator, which was interesting. But yeah, I saw that pretty decent card, some decent fights on there. So yeah, big up to them. But now, speaking of obviously the Japan card, so all three of the fights that was on my Predictions League, I got them all right, but I actually got the methods wrong for all three. So Kosei Tanaka, I thought would get a KO victory over Christian Rangel, but he actually went the distance. And then I thought that Takuma Inoue would go the distance with Joey Nankajas, and actually thought that Junto Nakatani would win on points against Alejandro Santiago. Yeah, they all decided to flip the script. So again, I haven't seen the fights, so I can't comment as to the level, how it turned out. But I guess with the fact that Alejandro Santiago is a much smaller person than Junto Nakatani, would have to constantly sort of come into the kill box to try and crowd the pocket to be able to get any shots off. That is a tailor-made recipe for someone like Junto, who's just so naturally big, much stronger, and uses his height and his reach well in fights. So he probably walked Santiago into numerous shots up until that sixth round stoppage. But again, I can't really comment too much on it. Outside of that, we had there was another card on DAZN. I can't remember who it was who promoted it, but I think it was also on the Fight Pass app. But it was Jay Harris and Conor Butler from Liverpool, Jay Harris from Wales. And that one, again, I predicted right. I did predict it would be a Jay Harris win on points. There were times when it looked like he possibly could have got Conor Butler out of there. But I actually said I thought that Harris would pick up a lot of the early rounds, and then basically kind of old man Butler out of the sort of the later rounds. And I thought Butler would be more aggressive in the fight. That was actually a bit of an error on my part, because Butler's more of a mover than I initially thought. I thought he was more of a come forward type guy, sort of to throw combinations. Now, he did let his hands go on the inside. He did throw the combinations from time to time, and the first set of rounds were very much sort of nip and tuck. But it was actually Jay Harris who then came on the second half of the fight and started letting those combination go, the straight punches, the punches on the inside, and he stayed in the pocket pretty much for the majority of the fight, not allowing Conor Butler to necessarily have space and time to do what he wanted to do. He also invested into the body brilliantly throughout the entire fight to stop Butler being able to move about. It took whatever shots he needed to take. It was just a nice, good, compact action fight. And I did predict it would be probably about a 116, 112 type scorecard. And yeah, ultimately, I did say that. I said it may also end up being like a majority on one of the cards or a split, but no, he won that quite conclusively, and but it's good experience for Butler moving forward, and we'll see if he can sort of come back. And having said after the fight, look, he's 34 now, so this is like his last hurrah at trying to get back to that world title and to try and win one. So he's not long left for the game down at flyweight, but while he's there, I guess he's going to be giving it a go. It'll be interesting. I'll be keen to see what happens with him moving forward. Now, very brief to touch on the Edgar Berlanga and Porrick McCrory fight card. I guess the first fight I got to start with probably has to be the Yanquiel Rivera fight. And funny enough, right, the one thing I said on the basis picks was that Yanquiel has he's very good in terms of his movement. He's got very good footwork. He's got good punch selection, but he does leave his head. He leaves his head on the line quite a bit, and his defense is very leaky. It's a lot leakier than you would expect for someone who, someone with such a amateur pedigree. He gets hit way too often, even when he's in the ascendancy and sort of piling the pressure, and it's almost like he just decides, all right, yeah, well, I'm gonna have to take these shots. There's never sort of a hand up to try and block something. He seems to take them quite flush, but yeah. In this fight, that obviously backfired, especially in the 9th round. I mean, he was bossing the fight before then, but the telltale signs were there. I saw it from sort of the earlier rounds, and then ultimately in the 9th round, he got caught like quite devastatingly by Andy Dominguez, and he's basically holding on for dear life. And he does well, he shows that he's got a pretty decent chin. He stays on his feet. He's able to grab hold, smother, ride and roll, like run away at times when he needed to, just to be able to get through the round. But it was definitely a crisis moment, and it's something that I'm hoping will allow him to finally sort of address some of those defensive issues, because you're not just going to be able to sort of blow all the competition out of the water. So yeah, hopefully he can get that sort of get that out of his game, and then yeah, I think it'll definitely be a big credit to that flyweight division, but that's definitely something he needs to work on. Antonio Vargas and Jonathan Rodriguez. Now, this was a great fight. 8 rounds. It was a 10-rounder. It was 8 rounds. The first round, you could kind of see that Vasquez was the taller and the more sort of compact guy. Like he had the better boxing fundamentals. He had the right stance, like the way he was walking his opponent down, the punch placement, everything was on his side. And at this point, it even looked like he had the bigger power advantage over Rodriguez as well. Now, I did say that he had the more knockouts on his record compared to Rodriguez, but I felt that Rodriguez, just coming off the momentum of the Calya fight, he may end up taking this one and end up taking it on points. That was sort of my prediction. Well, in the first round, he almost made a mockery of that, because right in the last few seconds of the round, out of nowhere, he lands a beautiful overhand right, which basically just takes the legs away of Vargas. Vargas falls, drops down, but gets back up, and then as Rodriguez wants to sort of step on the pace, at that point, he then, the bell goes, and luckily he's saved. The next round, Rodriguez is sort of, he's trying to stay in the pocket a bit more. He's staying a bit closer. He's not using his feet as much. But then Vargas is just the timing, the jab, the jab, the straight. Like his shots are just hitting the target a lot quicker and a lot cleaner than Rodriguez is, to the point where he even starts catching him on the right eye, and the eye just starts to bust up. And you can see there's a little cut, some swelling there. And then all the way right at the end of the round, Rodriguez he's taking a bit of a pasting. He's trying to hang on. He gets shoved off. He gets knocked down. He gets hit to the body, hit upstairs, and then eventually he goes down. And he takes a knee, and he's on the ground. And then literally it's almost 2 seconds after he's actually taken the knee, Vasquez hits him with an uppercut while he's on the ground, and at that point, I was tweeting saying, "Raw, like he." If I was, the thing is, if Rodriguez had have stayed on the ground, he actually could have got a DQ win from that. But he literally got up straight away, so he showed the Warriors art. I can't fault him for that, but that's definitely a little bit of inexperience, because you see, you get hit on the ground like that, you need to ham it up to, you know, make the ref super aware of kind of what's happening and what's taking place. So the ref then basically allows him to get back to his feet and says, you know, "Are you okay?" You sometimes says, "Yeah, I'm fine, cool, we can go." And then the ref says, yeah, to the judges and everything, "Yeah, count that knockdown." But at this point, I'm thinking, oh, he's counting the knockdown. Where's the point deduction? So I'm making a tweet, and I'm like, why is he not getting any points deducted for that blatant illegal shot? You know, when the guy's on the ground. And then as I'm actually writing the tweet, it comes from the corner into the third round, and then you hear the ref go around to each of the judges and say, right, take 2 points off him for the illegal shot. And I was like, oh, so I had to amend my tweet as I'm writing it. Said, oh, update, the ref's taken 2 points off. Yeah, that's a right decision. But that was pretty much the only consideration that Rodriguez had left. In the fourth round, he managed to pull out a salvo. He managed to catch Vargas with I think it was a left hook on the inside, which really rattled Vasquez, and he was ready to, you know, to sort of he was ready to rain those punches in, but Vasquez managed to avoid one, and then he literally lunged at Rodriguez and just held him against the ropes to stop the barrage and made the ref break them up. At that point, he was able to clear his head back, but that was the last bit of offense that Rodriguez had, and he just got systematically beaten down from sort of round 5 all the way to the end of round 7, where he just round 8, sorry, when he just inexplicably walked forward to Vasquez with his arms down till right at the end of the round, about 4 seconds left. Boom, solid left hook. He hits the ground hard, head slams into the ground as well. He gets up, but he's all wobbly, but then manages to right himself. The ref says walk there. He manages to walk over. Boom, he manages to go and sit back down on his stool. But the team's looking at him. He's like, no, I want to carry on. But eventually, right at the end of, as the clap was coming for the last couple seconds, the team just goes over, the ref waves it off, says, no, we got to call that. It was just a great action-packed fight. Yeah, I think it might be my fight of the night from what I saw. The Butler and Harris fight was a good one, but this may be my favorite one from the action that I watched. Then we had Shakram Grasov and Pablo Cano. Now this fight was a tactical battle from Giasov, and it was a bit more of an earnest effort from Cano, but it did sort of bring the tempo of the event down a little bit. There was a knockdown, I think, scored in the 4th round by Giasov, a body shot. I think it was in the 4th round, and after that, though, I mean, it felt like the shots didn't really have a huge amount of effect. But there was, Shakram Giasov won pretty much 9-10 of the 11 rounds that were there. There wasn't really one that I could say that he lost from what I was watching. Then right at the end of the 11th round, they both ended up punching after the bell. Cano started it, to be fair. Giasov then he retaliated, and as he he knocked Cano down, he ended up rolling over his ankle, and it rolled on the outside as well. Very painful. It looked like he could barely move, but because it was an accidental move as to how it happened, they ended up getting the technical decision. The Shakram Giasov got it. I think they gave him every round. Now, personally, maybe there was one that you could have given to Cano, but yeah, it was fair. It was what it was. Next, we had Andy Cruz against Brian Zamaripa. This fight, now I was anticipating, the angles, where he's basically going to be hitting Zamaripa from, and I thought to myself, yeah, this could be another accumulation stoppage within maybe sort of the 6th or the 7th. Now, every single shot that Cruz hit him with was rocking Zamaripa. It was knocking him back, but Zamaripa at this point, he was basically on his bike. He was moving around the periphery, trying to sort of pot shot here and there. He wasn't engaging. I guess if he had planted his feet more, I think Cruz maybe could have got a stoppage here. But ultimately, he just had to kind of follow Zamarripa around the ring, cut off the ring. Occasionally, he would get some good combinations in, but whenever he was like, really trying to unload, you would have Zamarripa, he would dip under and he would duck underneath the arm and then grab and hold and make the referee break them up. So it wasn't the spectacular display as was his fight against Giovanni Straffon in the last fight, or even the fight prior to that. But he still showed the leagues and the levels above this type of opponent he is. So his next fight is going to have to be, a step up even more so than that. And I'm sure he'll be more than happy to do it. But yeah, it was a he didn't lose a second of a round in any round. It was a dominant, like, one-sided beatdown for 10 rounds. It was just a case that Zamarripa wouldn't hold his feet long enough to really get caught with something, which is obviously the name of the game. It's hit and don't get hit. He was trying his best not to get hit. His face will tell you a different story. Like there was a lot of facial damage there, but he managed to see the final bell. So congrats to him. Last but not least, we've got Edgar Berlanga and Podrick McCrory. Now on this one, I think I predicted it was going to be about the 8th or the 9th round where Berlanga would stop McCrory, but I just felt that it would come down ultimately to who's the younger and the fresher person. I felt the size advantage was with McCrory, but the youth and the actual explosivity was with Edgar Berlanga. And as much as McCrory is called the hammer, like, ultimately, if you've got a 50% KO ratio, that doesn't tell me that you may have a big punch, but you're not the biggest. So there's liberties that you can kind of take. Now in the first couple of rounds, Berlanga was very sort of patient, tentative, sort of just trying to work his feet out, trying to work his range and his distance. He got a bit dirty in there at times as well. McCrory I can't remember what it was McCrory done, but he ended up with Berlanga's arm over the side of his shoulder, and then he did angle it, draw it back into his jaw to come out. The ref obviously warned him about that. He had a history. He did bite Roma Angulo as well in a fight, so he's got tendencies to maybe react in adverse ways. But he then couple times, he was investing to the body well, digging down deep into the body, couple low blows, one of which was inadvertent because McCrory actually drug his head down as he was firing the shot, so that caused the low blow. The second one was a very, very blatant low blow, but outside of that, McCrory just started looking like he was feeling sorry for himself. He was complaining to the ref a lot, which ultimately, look, you've got a right to complain, but as Sergio Mora was saying on commentary, if if the ref ain't doing nothing, all right, get your get back. Like, stop complaining to him. Like, do something yourself. Like, if he's gonna make it dirty, you make it dirtier, ultimately. But he just couldn't really get to that mode, and then ultimately he ended up he caught, I think it was a big straight right hand towards the end of the 6th round, and I think there was a hook another sort of right hook that came in at the end of that, and he ended up falling to the ground. He did just about manage to get up on the sort of the 9 count, but he was wobbling about, and by that time the corner had already thrown in the towel. So yeah, he that was pretty much all she wrote with that. Berlanga's obviously wants Canelo fight. Jaime Munguia is probably more of a realistic proposition. David Morrell Jr. was in attendance. He was in there as well in Orlando. Weird that he didn't. You would have thought he would have tried to maybe get in the ring and petition for that fight as well. But maybe he was there more so just because he's got a vested interest in the stable. We heard that Eddie Hearn, a PBC fighter, had just moved over, which I believe was Elvis Rodriguez. maybe David Moreau is deciding that he wants to have a look and explore his options as well. Louis de Cubas, obviously his manager, maybe he can maybe they can get that one set up, and that would be a great addition to the Matchroom stable. They've got a lot of good quality 168s over there now, so yeah, let's see basically what happens. But look, that's pretty much the weekend in a nutshell. Nothing else really happened outside the sport that I can remember. Some decent action, some really good cards. I need to go back and check some of the others. Don't forget Breakdown on Tuesday, Monday Night Smoke tomorrow. I'll probably make an appearance on there. I've got more content coming this week, and hopefully I should have some good news to give you guys towards the end of the week. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for right now, yeah, that's pretty much that done. Like, subscribe, share, leave your comments, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. But until then, peace.